So you want to find out if Insurgency Sandstorm is worth picking up or not. In this video, I'll be talking about the title's history, gameplay, graphics, controls, game modes, optimization, and pitfalls to watch out for. Sit back and relax while I go in depth about what this game has to offer. Insurgency Sandstorm is a tactical multiplayer shooter, and the third title in the Insurgency series. The series itself started off as a Half-Life 2 mod, like many other titles of today. They released their standalone game called Insurgency back in 2014. Insurgency Sandstorm is their third mark in the series, this time using the Unreal 4 engine. The premise is simple: create a tactical shooter that is inspired by modern conflicts and attempts to capture what it's like to truly be in those moments of battle. Now let's get on to the gameplay. This game feels like you're trying to not only win encounters, but survive them. Each weapon packs a powerful punch and feels good with each shot fired, whether a pistol, a rifle, or explosive ordnance. Since the playing field of damage is even between you and the enemy, it forces you to work together with your team to take objectives and cover each other's backs. The game primarily is about close quarters and mid-range encounters. When joining a game, you will be able to choose from a selection of classes you can play as. After choosing your class, you will then be able to change your loadout, deciding between different guns, attachments, and explosives to fit to your playstyle. Each class has specific weapons and equipment that you can select from. Insurgents and security have their own assortment of equipment that differ from each other. Your options for support will also be different depending on what team you chose. Just to name a few examples, Insurgents will get options that start from drones that drop by IEDs, to chemical mortars that can flush people out of buildings. On the security side, you'll get options such as an A-10 Warthog Strafe, all the way up to gunships that blow people to pieces. At the moment, the only playable vehicle is a pickup with a 50 caliber machine gun on the back of it. It's great for laying down suppressive fire and shooting through walls. However, you do feel like one big target just waiting for an RPG to strike. Most of the maps can be narrow or congested, so navigating around in the pickup can be difficult. The enemy team can also use the pickup if you leave it unattended, so most players just blow it up. Now that we've spent some time talking about the gameplay, let's move on to the different types of matches you'll be playing online. The two main types are co-op and versus. Versus has a competitive option that does allow for you to earn yourself a rank. Co-op teams you up with other players to take on AI. On official servers, you'll be able to play with up to 8 other people, where on private servers they may allow for more teammates. Your mission is simple: capture objectives, hold them, or blow up enemy ammo caches. Teamwork is vital, as survival is key to winning a match. If you die, you will have to wait for your team to complete an objective before respawning. This includes waiting till an objective has been defended from a counterattack. You're given 3 rounds to win before a match is over. The maps are quite large, so you will be battling through different environments as objectives unlock. Some maps have more objectives than others, so the matches might go for a little longer. Now let's talk about Versus and its different game modes. The 3 game modes you would be playing in Versus is Firefight, Skirmish, and Push. Each match would allow for up to 32 players to battle it out at once. The first game mode we'll be talking about is Firefight. In this game mode, both teams are fighting over 3 objectives over the span of 5 rounds. At the beginning of each round, both teams will already have one of the objectives in their possession, and fight over the center one. To win at Firefight, your team either has to have all 3 objectives in their control, hold the most objectives when the round runs down, or eliminate the enemy team. This one tends to be the most fast-paced of all the game modes and the most tense. The next game mode we'll be talking about is Skirmish. Skirmish is really a tweaked version of Firefight that makes 2 major changes. The first one being that both teams will have an ammo cache at their spawn that can be treated as an additional objective. These ammo caches can only be destroyed and cannot be captured. The idea is that when the 3 main objectives have been fully controlled by the enemy, that they will have to still go through and blow up the last objective to win. At any point in the match, the ammo cache can be blown up. You'll usually see either a single player or 2 guys roam around to the enemy's spawn to blow it up, giving their team a little bit more of an edge and one less thing they have to do to win. The other major change is that both teams will have 5 waves when the round starts, meaning that your team doesn't need to capture an objective to go through and have you respawn. Because of the added objectives and the waves, you can expect to be in this game mode a lot longer than firefighting. The last versus game mode we'll be talking about is called Push. It's very similar to Rush from Battlefield. One team will be attacking while the other defends. The attacking team will start off with 5 waves of respawns. When they capture an objective, 5 additional waves will be added. On the defending side, they'll start with all of their reinforcements for the entire game already set. Both teams have to be careful as to how they spend their lives because it's very easy to eat through them quickly. In Push, the number of objectives will change depending on what map you're playing, but usually it's around 5. 4 that you will have to attack and hold to capture, and the last one being an ammo cache that needs to be blown up. This game mode only has 2 rounds, so each team will be given the ability to attack or defend at least once. For the attacking team to win, they have to capture all the objectives. For the defending team, they'll have to wear down the enemy's respawns, or at least hold them off until the timer runs out. This game mode can go very quickly or be very drawn out. The limit for each round is 20 minutes. Now let's talk about the game's graphics and sound. Visually, it meets the standards of a modern shooter. They're not amazing, but they also aren't painful to look at. One thing they did get right, hands down, is the lighting. Whether it be from a small fire, or the sun burning in the sky. It portrays the time of day and the location of the game quite well. Where the game really shines is its visual and sound effects when combined together. Each weapon sounds realistic, and being on the receiving end of fire is frightening. Watching bullets pierce through walls and whiz by you while you frantically run for cover is quite an experience. The sound of a 50 cal pickup rolling closer and ripping through cover is enough to make anybody run. And there's nothing that quite compares to the sound of an A-10 Warthog firing its main gun from above. Even small details like the radio makes me fall in love with the sound design. Every time a teammate talks, it sounds like it's actually coming out of a radio comm.
Alright, you dirty terrorist, I'll play your game.
I find myself frequently thinking a teammate is talking over the radio, only to realize it's radio support confirming requests. I wish other games went to such detail. While we're on the matter of graphics, it's good to mention that there isn't a large rotation of maps in this game. A lot of the maps that you'd be playing for co-op will be reused in versus and be sectioned down to fit the right amount of people. The controls are quite standard for a PC shooter. Small touches like being able to lean left or right to look around walls is nice. Having the ability to check how many rounds are left in your magazine by holding down R is a huge plus. This is also a game where you want to conserve your ammo, so being able to switch between different fire rates can also help you conserve some rounds. Each key can be rebinded, and you even get options for either holding down or toggling buttons depending on certain actions, such as holding your breath while looking down sights, or switching between walking and running speeds. If you're new to PC gaming and still prefer a controller, they do have gamepad support that you can go through and use. One nice small touch that's been added to the game is allowing you to customize your character. While you play the game, you'll be earning yourself some coin and unlock some items after leveling up. This allows you to make yourself different from the pack by adjusting your character to your liking. Now, don't get me wrong, you're not going to walk out with a pimp hat and a cane, but it allows you to show off your prestige even with a simple glance. You want sunglasses, a different type of camo, or maybe you want to dress like Slav. No matter your preference, making yourself easily distinguishable in a firefight helps. Now let's dive into the performance of the game and its hardware requirements. The game's minimum requirements are for a 4th gen i5 or a 6th gen AMD FX processor, with 8GB of RAM, and either a GTX 760 or a Radeon HD 7970. Their recommended hardware is an i7-8700 or a Ryzen 7 2700 with 16GB of RAM and either a GTX 980 or an AMD R9 390X. The game is about 40GB in size, so make sure you have enough disk space. If you have an SSD installed on there, older mechanical hard drives have said to create stutter depending on the read and write speeds. To put it into perspective, this game will require more horsepower than most. You don't need a godly build, but an entry-level build will struggle. The rig that I've been playing on is an i7 6700K, with 16GB of RAM and a GTX 980 Ti. I averaged from 60 to 90 frames on very high settings. I've been playing this game since the beta, and it released back in December of 2018. I've noticed significant improvements in performance since the beta, however some people still have a rough time. Down below in the description I've left 2 guides that many have found to be useful for getting some extra frames. Now I really enjoy playing this game, however it's only fair to go over its pitfalls and things you should know before purchasing it. Obviously what we had mentioned in the prior section is that the hardware requirements are higher than other games in its caliber. This obviously makes the experience for a lot of players unpleasant because the optimization still needs to be worked on. Speaking of optimization, it kinda leads into the next part. There is a list of annoying little bugs that become apparent when you play the game for a long time. And some of these bugs have still existed since the beta. And these bugs that I'm talking about are your character still being on fire after respawning, disappearing hands, cursor offset in menus, rubber banding, and sights completely disappearing. But don't get me wrong, they're not game breaking, but they should have been taken care of before the release date back in December. Now to answer your question, should you buy this game? If you enjoy tactical shooters, then this is an easy pickup. The game itself feels like a happy medium between an arcade shooter and a sim shooter. Enough realism to fit the setting and scenarios, but not too much to make the gameplay tedious. The game hits its mark and delivers an experience that's not only powerful, but enjoyable. After going over what this game has to offer, I hope it's brought you closer to your decision. If you enjoyed the content, please hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with us, and comment down below what you thought of the video or what game we should review next. But until next time guys, I'm AJ from Those Awkward Gamers, and I'll see you on the battlefield.